Hey everybody. So I'm doing a comic page. That's what's going on here. and the last video that I uploaded, I believe, was like questions and answers number 5 or number 6 or something. And as I was going through that, uploading that, you wonderful people, you started to. It was more than one person started to address this. So that's what this video is, and that's showing real time drawing. So buckle in, grab your butts. We're gonna do a panel. To be fair, the panel we're doing, I'll just quickly go over what it is this panel here. I don't even know if you can really tell what's going on, but this guy in the top right is down here eating a slice of pizza. And he's an alien, and he doesn't quite, his lips are like, what is this cheesiness? What is this? So that's the panel we're doing. Now, if I zoom out, just so you can see the actual size of that panel, it's relatively small. Okay, but it will help give you guys just how long it takes me. I don't, I don't understand the only practicality I understand of showing you guys this instead of a sped up video is just so that you know and you're aware that it takes time to do this sort of thing. The problem some of you were wanting to get, I suppose, addressed was the concern that people might get deterred from watching videos online or tutorials where they just go so quick. Like I upload videos that are sped up because I don't want you guys sitting there for an extended period of time just watching stuff. But that's what this is. So we're going to do some stuff. So I thought I'd just quickly go over. You don't really need to know about the page. I want to talk about the steps of what I'm doing so you can understand where we're going. And I wanted to keep these two panels up here, panel 1 and panel 3, so you can see the extremes. This is the current workflow that I'm in. Now, this stage here, there's thumbnails and then there's tight pencils, and I'm using air quotes for this, okay? The thumbnails, go back to any video you guys have seen me do. I'm not going to take that time to do now. They're very organic, and hopefully they give the initial impression and story idea of my direction of moving the story along. Next stage is pencils. Normally I do those digitally. Lately, at least for the last few pages of this project, which is Worlds in Peril, that I've been working on for a little bit now, I print them out on a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, black. I lower the opacity to about like 10-15%, and I bust out the blue and red animation pencils, which you guys can see, and I just start to figure things out, just like I would normally do if I was doing this digital. And then I take another graphite, or I think this was an H-lead pencil, whatever you're comfortable with, and just start spotting blacks where the shadows would be. This is all just to help inking. That's the idea for this, okay? However, as the workflow's been progressing, I keep going back to like this right here, panel 1, which is I like to call the Freddie Williams method. You guys have heard me talk about the book, and I'll bring it up again. The DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. That's this workflow, except I'm using it in Manga Studio 5. If I bring over my tabs here, I've actually set some things up earlier in the week here, actions that I do in Photoshop, but now I'm able to do in Manga Studio. It's a little different, but I'm getting the same thing. And as some of you have pointed out, when I was doing Photoshop stuff, it was like, oh, you'll be back to Manga Studio. You always come back. They always crawl back because of the line quality. I can't argue it. That's why I'm back in it. So what we do, if I just go over panel 1 here, I just want to show you what's going on. Okay, so this is the sketch underneath. Let me just turn it off so you can see where we're going. So I lower the opacity of my tight pencils, if that's what you want to call them. And then I just grab, it's actually a pen I believe that I made. Yeah, C-Tech. I found these C-Tech pens that Fang Zhu recommended on one of his many concept art videos. And the C-Tech pen I love it. It's very precise, doesn't bleed, and you get real thin lines. It's not like a brush pen or any kind of brush where it goes thin to thick. You have to build it up like a Bic pen or any kind of generic pen you've ever touched in your life, if you ever bought from like a dollar store or something. Okay, but it's very precise. It's a very precision pen. The one thing in Photoshop, and I'm just trying to go over this, and we will get to drawing. I just want to lay the foundation with you guys. Is okay. So let me see. Let me just grab this. That's gonna be too big. So like a generic pen that you might just get, again, from like the dollar store. Probably looks like this, you know, and it's fine. This is how I feel like Photoshop works. But with the C-Tech pen and stuff, I start to get like some variance. Do you see what's happening here? Like how I can get thin to thick? This is what I like to call my Jim Lee rendering thing. I have no idea the inkers that ink Jim Lee, but he always does something that would be like, you know, you do like these sort of lines and then you just do that, you know? And then you'd probably, whoops, you just go in there and just clean that up. What's going on here? There you go. You know what I mean? And you can just sort of get rendering built up like that. I like it. I dig it. I like using that as my initial groundwork, using the Freddie Williams method, just because sometimes when I'm going in here, let's just say we were doing her face or whatever here, you know, in Photoshop I would have to go, you know, I'd feel like I'd have to be pretty precise like this around her face, and it gives it that dead line, which is fine. But once you start getting a little bit more brave, you can start to go a little quicker. And you see the variance that gives you. It's just a slight difference, and I love it. Okay? So I just wanted to go over that just to show you the tools that I'm using here for that. So that's it right there. That's the dead line that's talked about in the method. And it's nothing. It's boring looking, but it keeps the art honest. And I can't argue with it. I like where this lets me go. This also lets me work in batches, okay? I don't have a lot of time to spend every day on comic pages. So when I can knock out like 2 to 4 pages, you know, wherever, it's usually around 2 to 3, of just phases, right? So tight lines like this. And then once I get 3 pages of that done, go on to the next batch of 3 pages of inks. And the inks would be adding your shadow and stuff, okay? So the next stage that I do here to get it ready for inks is I drop on one more line called the contour line. Now, what I normally would do, what I had done before, was this contour line was just a thick line around everything, and it's fine. I don't mind it. I think it's an awesome thing. The only thing that kind of irked me a bit was that it felt very flat. And as you add inks, right, like once you get over to like this stage, a lot of that stuff goes away. It's gone. You don't really, your eye doesn't pick up those bold outlines usually. At least it doesn't for me. However, I wanted a little bit more vibrance, a little bit more life in there. So all I would do for this here, I should say too, that C-Tech pen that I made, I believe you can use, is it a mill pen? Or is it a felt? The Millie pen at the top here. It's similar to the C-Tech pen. Just play around with it. You might like it. Okay? But to do the contour lining and like basically all inking, unless I'm doing like that Jim Lee rendering like I told you guys, just click over to pen here, and I just use the mapping pen. My brush size is like 0.8. This is a 600 dpi file. You know, so you can get really thin lines like you normally would, and you can just, that's about as thick as this gets. Usually I'll beef it up if I want some outlines and stuff that I want like more in the foreground. But that lets me just drop a contour line around it so that I'm done. So that when I get to inking, you know, I don't have to worry about drawing everything. It just makes, you'll see in the next, that's why I want to show you the next panel that we're going to work on, because it actually has layers. It has foreground elements, middle ground, and a background. So when you start doing just this outline, the idea of it keeps your art honest. You're going to see it, okay? It's very hard to miss it. What it does also do is once we have this, it's a knockout layer that Freddie calls it. And what the knockout layer does is it allows things like your characters to be moved around. So I'll just show you an example. Since panel 1 is above panel 3, I'm just going to move that whole panel, and it's just going to block out everything that's behind because it's a white knockout layer, they call it. It's basically just whatever the shape of that contour line is, everything inside of it is white. So you can imagine, you can just start moving your characters in front of buildings. You can do whatever you want. It's really awesome. What's the last thing we'll jump to? Okay, so from here, I went ahead and added the inks to this guy because this guy couldn't wait to ink, to be honest with you. So I did everything you just saw with this guy here. Unfortunately, his layer, I believe, is merged right now. Yeah, this was done a little bit earlier. I didn't know I was going to be recording with you guys just to get file size down. But yeah, so everything you just saw me talk about, I did with this cat here, and then I added a new layer and just inked like I normally would. And that's it. That's the workflow. That's the workflow that's working for me. So let's see it in action. Hot action. All right, so we got a whole bunch, and to be honest with you, we've got a perspective shot here. The perspective rulers in Manga Studio 5, they're pretty hit and miss with me, so we get to see me stumble around a bit. So let's get these panels ready here. So we got panel 1 done, panel 3. I'm going to make a new folder. I just put P4. I don't want to write panel all the time. But in each one of these things, I have to make a new folder. You're going to see why. This is just a Manga Studio 4th or 5 thing that I'm doing, just so that I can do the white contour line. Like I said up here in the actions, that white knockout layer, you're going to see me use it. I have it done in an action, so I just press a button, and it does a bunch of things. A good example of what's really cool that I love about doing the Freddie method in Photoshop is when you're building up volume and you're adding that blue line, Manga Studio does it as well, except you just need to click a button and it'll make it blue, and then you can lower the opacity and stuff. This is what I like to do, okay? So let's just, let's do this, okay? So we're going to draw a face. Yeah, cool stuff, yeah. All right, we're going to get an eye in here and some nose. Yeah, cool, okay. So I can just click this blue line and press play. And, oh, what happened? Is it underneath? Oh, okay, that's why, because it's in its own separate folder. All it does is I actually have another thing in here that's adding another layer above it so that it lowers the opacity underneath. So that sometimes when you turn the blue layers on, as you keep building these things up, they start to just meld into one sort of thing, right? But you can just keep doing that, and it'll keep. You can see what's happening here, right? And then eventually you can get to some nice tight lines. And I use this even all the way up to here. Like if there's problems that I need to work out, it's a great tool to be able to have, in my opinion. And that's just the power of like actions. Okay, I'm pressing a button; it's doing multiple things. If you stretch that out over the length of a project or your entire life, or how long you're going to be doing a workflow, you're saving. You know, if it's 10 seconds, multiply that for every time you do that. It's a no-brainer. I honestly recommend. I did this too. I spent, I think, 2 hours one morning before going to work just figuring actions out in here, because I know the time invested is going to pay off. Okay, so find that time. Man, we're going all over the place here. We're not even doing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some default layers or folders for what I know is in this panel here, okay? Trying to think of like bulk things that are going on here. So I want the, I'm going to just sort of think of this as the pizza box here with these vials. That's the foreground. So what I'll just write is like pizza boxes. You can do whatever. You just got to be aware of your folder layout. The next one is, I always forget the characters' names. I believe that the Outsider, that's what it was. So, Outsider. And I'll make another one, and we'll call this one like BG for background. I don't really need to, well, I'm just trying to think if I'm going to be putting anything back there that, I will just be clean with this. Okay, so we'll put friend. And then we'll make one more for BG background. Now I need to just organize these. They're just in the opposite order. And pizza boxes. Cool. Okay, so let's have some fun. Let's do this. Let's make comics. Let's sink in some time. So I like to jump into what's fun. I don't like putting off what I don't want to draw. I like to put off what I don't want to draw. That's what I meant to say. This guy back here, he's gonna be fun with his TV, but you know, this is the action. This is the fun stuff. I just want to make sure when I get to this stuff, when I want to do it, I want to get it done. I don't want to save that stuff because by the time I get to it, my energy, my attention span might be pretty garbage. And if this is the focus, I want all my energy on that. So Outsider, click on that layer. I'm gonna make a new layer. I sometimes even go in here just to save confusion. I'll just show it for you guys. I'll normally name it lines once all my lines are done. I don't like to label it right now because this is like the building phase. There's lots of things we're going to be making layers over top of and stuff. And you'll see as we go. So let me just draw here to see what's showing up. Okay, that's fine. I don't want to do his face just yet here, so start with the hand. The hands are awesome. They're very complicated to draw. Right? but they're complex enough that it's a great thing to like work rust off, in my opinion. Face, you got to be pretty on point with a face. People can call you on bad faces pretty quick. Bad hands, people are going to call you on. They'll call you if anybody's going to call you on anything. That's that's a problem. I don't think you can stop, but I think it's expected. People have bad hands, and when people draw really cool hands, like you get some pretty sweet praise for it. But bad faces, it's pretty gross. So what I'm trying to think of while I'm doing this is just finding, like you can see I'm leaving gaps. Don't worry about that. We're going to get to that. Just trying to you're trying to pull the right lines out. I don't need to worry about going in here and adding all the shading, because that's what I consider the inking phase. I did do things like this where I added a couple lines just because it helps. At the time, it feels right. I can't really explain it outside of that, of why you would want to add render lines. Like I just want to add a line there. I don't know why it feels right, so I'm putting it there. And again, I couldn't tell you why you would want to do that or why you should do it. I don't know if there's a reason for it. We'll just put it under that. It's the artsy fartsy thing. Sometimes you feel like you just want to throw lines everywhere. Do it. And with this C-Tech brush here, I'm trying to be pretty quick so I can get that variance in there. And, I mean, once we get to inking, digital lets you draw in white, right? And at no stage, and this is something I heard again from Fang Zhu. Love that guy. Highly recommend checking him out. Even if you don't do concept art, a lot of the workflows he does can be brought over, or just ideologies and just thought process. Really creative cat. Does a lot of really cool things. And one second here. So make sure we're getting this hand going. I actually forget what I was talking about with things. Oh, right. There we go. It's you should always never be afraid of your art, and you should never feel like you're always trapping yourself in. I brought this up with you guys before in the past. So that means as I'm drawing this doesn't ever need to mean this is how it's going to look when it's done. If something isn't right, or when I get here and I'm like, these lines are just, erase them, man. Just draw some more lines. Don't go, well, these are the lines I picked, and go in there and start trying to make, pardon the French here, don't try to turn your shit into gold. Like, if it's shit gold. That's not, nobody wants shit gold. Well, I don't, you might want that. I don't think you do. That's definitely got a question mark on it. So always go back if you can. Don't ever feel, even if you got deadlines, I mean, deadlines are pretty sucky, for sure. But don't let, a deadline force you to just do crap work. I don't want this guy to have, all these sort of teeth. I just want nice teeth. Like an alien. I don't even know what kind of... I don't think I've ever drawn this guy with his mouth open. It's really weird. He's kind of got a Abe Sapien from Hellboy look to him. Kind of cool. So I was trying to figure out his face, right? Like the anatomy in there. I'm not really worrying about... I want to make definite sure that I keep his expression going. I don't want to lose the expression. Expression's pretty important here. So I like to use these little reflections in his eyes as a focus point, like what he's looking at. And I'm definitely going to be drawing over this in white to get some extra sizzle in there. And he doesn't have eyebrows, but I want to fold his skin up. On his eyes, he's not Not sure what the hell pizza is, you know. Where's my second window? Oh, I didn't tell you guys this either. I may as well bring it up now. Right now, I'm working on a Cintiq. It's the 12WX, the smaller guy. And I have a second monitor hooked up that I can duplicate like this file here just by going up to like Window, Canvas, New Window. Whoops. I'll just show you. Anyway, it'll make a little tab up here, and I just drag this tab over to my second monitor. If you don't have a second monitor, you know, depending on if you're using like a tablet or something, you could just like keep this over here. I recommend it so that you can always compare it to everything else that's going on. Also, what's really cool is like I know he's got face design, but I've already done it up here, so it's good to be able to have that. Like if you're working in real life, like your page is in front of you the entire time, right? So a lot of that guesswork is done because, well, it's right in front of you. But in digital, like I say, I'm on a Cintiq right here, so if I had a bigger Cintiq, a lot of this stuff would be worked out because I could see it on the screen still. But I highly recommend, even in Photoshop, I would do that too. I think some people just use the navigator window. I like to do the window new document and just put that onto the second monitor. I highly recommend if you can afford it. I mean, it's, you know, all this stuff costs money and you just keep tacking it on, and all of a sudden digital's like, isn't digital supposed to be cheaper than traditional over time? But the startup cost is pretty gross. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm working it in groups. Okay, so we've got this pizza box and stuff that's in front of them. Now, if I was doing all this on a layer or something, I would have to be concerned of where this is, and that's fine. But because you're going to see what's going on here when I do this white knockout layer, I can get sloppy, man. I can start throwing lines in here. That's fine because I know once this pizza box over top it, you can't see it. It's going to add that white outline to it. And it's awesome because like that helps so much with backgrounds. Now, it kind of sucks because sometimes you have to draw more of the background than you want to. Very rarely do I move characters around, but because this guy's here, maybe if I zoom out, right, and my pencils and everything are fine, like I don't mind the shot, I think it's fine, but as I'm drawing, I'm like, you know what, maybe there's more I can do with the couch here. Like just, if I could just get this much more room of couch, maybe I could put more story elements, you know, like beakers or more chips or giant pizza boxes. Like he still hasn't figured out pizza, you know. Then I can just, since this guy, the outsider, is on his own layer, I can just, you know, he'll have that white outline layer on him, and I can just shift and click, right, and just slide him over, and he'll knock out everything behind him. He'll add with that white background, and it knocks it out. It's really good. All right. Let's get back to this here. I was going to start a clock too while I was doing this, just so I can, for myself, see how long this is going. Be interesting for myself, actually. Alright, so I'm gonna put a little. He hasn't put in there. Maybe we'll get a little. I don't get gross, but maybe maybe he's got like a weird tongue. Just kind of. I don't even know if you'll be able to see that once it's printed. Probably not. All right, let's get the Ninja Turtle cheese. That's gross. And this is what I'm saying. Like, keeping the art honest is one thing, but this is getting like, you know, you can still get sloppy with this sort of thing here. But what I'll just keep praising this workflow because I'm digging it. But what it does is it lets me just see like how is the lines looking? How do they feel? They feel good? Do they feel, you know, you can do better, Jonathan. Just take another stab at it because this ain't cutting it. And this also doesn't, even though I have the light source established underneath, you can kind of see it here. All right, this guy's an alien. I want to give him just a little bit. He's got human anatomy, obviously. But I just want to give these, maybe he's got like huge bones up here. Like his collarbone's just a little different. Pretty sure I designed it like that. I don't have the design with me here. Just bad practice. But this workflow too, and this can be argued, you know what I mean? Like this part right here where it's by leaving lines open like this, I can actually change the light source at any time. You should always be able to do that with your art. It goes back to that thing I was saying. Never feel like your art is controlling what you want to get out of the picture. If I want this light to be absolutely dramatic, like just heavy shadows, just really focusing on the lips in this area here, do it. You know, if it makes a better image, absolutely do it. But that's why I like working in these bulk stages like this. It just makes things feel. At any time, you can go back and do a certain stage, you know. Alright, so there's a lot of like black. I'm just going to put these X's here. I can always erase it just so I know. My initial idea was these are supposed to be blacked out. I think he's done. I'm just going to actually add some more pec area. This is all going to get covered up, but I want it for me when I get there to ink. So he's got these like tattoo patterns like this. I could just draw them on here, but I like to knock out the lines sometimes that they're on. So this is why I said I don't usually label these just yet, because there's times I'm going to go back in here like this and just add lines. Okay, so that muscle wraps. It's going to kind of drape. It's going to come back down his chest here like that. Comes over. Thin to thick as it gets closer. Drape. That starts getting smaller as it gets away from us here. Okay, so he's got one on this side too. So this is what I'm talking about right here. You'll see it. So the lines are supposed to come here. I can't really see it where they're supposed to be, but I can use this information as an anchor. So I know we got a line here that's supposed to come up, and we're going to go that way with it and drape across his pecs. Alright, now since this is all on a separate layer, right, I can just do this. This is the whole point of it. This is like one of the things about digital that it's just awesome. Drawing through and then just erasing. Yeah, okay, so let me just zoom out. I'm going to Control E to merge down. Should work. Yeah, it still saves it lines. Okay, I'm going to press the save button. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time. Manga Studio 5 takes a little while to save, so I'm not going to talk while I'm saving, because in case it breaks up what I'm saying. So just give me 1 second here. Okay. That's the reason why I need a better computer. Brutal. Oh, yeah. The computer just firing up over there? Jeez. Alright, I also forgot that he's got more tattoo patterns up here. Alright, so one last check that I like to do just before leaving the line art stage for this is let me just turn off the actual sketch. So this is what the lines look like. And like I say, usually they're not impressive. They're probably real gross. You're just like, ew, my art sucks like this. It's just disgusting. It gets better, guys. It gets to this. It gets to fun looking stuff. Okay. So the next step is I got my lines. I'm going to make a new layer, and I like to call it cont, but just for you guys, contour. Cont is just short. It's a shorter way for me to remember. All right, so we got our mapping pen. Let me just turn back that layer. Now what I'm doing is the contour layer, that outline that she's got. This is what I'm looking for here, okay? So I'm looking for things that are like popping out at us. There's a lot of area here that's going to be pretty thick. This hand's actually at us pretty impressively here. So I'm going to start here. Now, contour line doesn't have to, but if you're using a lot of shadows, it helps. Like if you're just using a flat contour line like this around everything, it doesn't really matter, which is fine. You shouldn't have to be thinking about that at this stage just yet because that's in the inking stage, right? This is the lines. However, that's one area I'm just trying to speed up a little bit. So I'm trying to sort of figure out, like I know that the lighting should be here. And the only reason I'm saying that is because that means any of the lines that are away from that TV, those are the ones that are heavier, okay? So banging these up here. And the only lines I'm really worrying about are the outside lines, right? Like I did just start in here. Sometimes you just feel it. Again, it's sort of just like these lines. It just feels like that's what you want to do, so do it. I like to call it like your art instinct. There's a reason why you want to do it. Might not be the right reason, but you want to do it for something. There's a compulsion to do it, so do it. But like I say, you want to be just focusing on the outside lines because this is just a contour line. It's that thick outline layer that prepares you for when you go to inking. I'll do another shameless plug for the book. I'm in no way associated with any of this stuff. I just like talking about it because Freddie Williams with the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics, a lot of the terminology I'm using is what he was saying. And a lot of how I work is based on that book. So if digital inking is something you're interested in, definitely get Photoshop, or I would recommend Manga Studio. Doesn't matter what. Just so you can get your feet wet. But that book, even if you don't like his art, I've heard people complain about that, but you're going to get that no matter where you go. People don't like everybody's art, and that's the way it should be. But the practices in that book, amazing. It breaks down something that can be complicated into something that's not so complicated. And I think the easiest thing for people to do when they're trying to go digital is just go for it. You know, you don't have to look up books. You're going to run into snags where, well, how do I do this or that? Like how do I make my lines bigger? You know, like an absolute basic thing. And just messing around with the program will get you there. And you guys all know that. However, there's a quote, not a quote, sorry. Well, no, I guess it'd be a quote if somebody said it. Doug Tenaple, he did, I believe it was the book, Ghostopolis. And he bought Manga Studio 4 EX when a buddy of his was talking about it. I think the guy that does Axe Cop brought it up to him. And he told him that's what the software is that he was using to make Axe Cop, which is a web comic, and I think you can get it in print now. Yeah, you can definitely get it in print now. And Doug liked it, and he went out and bought it, installed it, and then just did exactly what I just told you. Start a new file, and just draw how you would normally draw in like your sketchbook. And then what he did from there is he just went like file new page, file new story, add a bunch of pages, and then just started drawing the entire comic in there. And that's the beauty of Manga Studio, is that it's geared towards us people that want to make comics. So yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Photoshop, but if you just want to make comics, it is a complicated program for sure. But everything in there is eventually, once you find it, it's meant for you to make comics, right? So that's a huge plug for that. And the line quality, like, man, I enjoy it. That's why we're back in there instead of Photoshop. Photoshop, you can actually get the same lines. It's much different, feels different, and there's a reason why a lot of people like to just stay in Manga Studio and they don't like going back to Photoshop or even trying Photoshop. We're almost done here with one part of this image. I don't know if we're going to get into the inking. I know you guys might want to see that, but like I say, I don't want this video to be 2 to 3 hours long. I just want you to see how long it took me to get to the line art, which I consider this the tight line art of the page, and it's the workflow. This is how I make comics myself, right? And I like watching process videos. You guys must be enjoying it if you're still here watching. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I need to have an area that basically encloses this character so that I can fill inside of it white. If I have gaps, remember how we were talking about those gaps? You can see I've already filled them over with a contour line. So just when you're drawing like a finger and you're like, instead of going like, all right, the finger's got to be perfect. That's a horrible finger, but you can go like, all right, we're going to have some, if it just feels like you just want to throw in some lines like this, that's fine, because when you go over with your contour line, then you can knock it out. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But so I need to just make sure. So I'm going to actually draw inside the border here, just real lightly, so that when I make my selection here, it encloses everything in that character. So I'm just going through here, just making sure the lines are all good. This one's just going to be a straight across right here. So I'm actually going to grab, my C-Tech pen. Hey, Jessup. Oh, baby cat. If you hold shift, thank F, they actually added it, or finally added that into Manga Studio. So you can do straight lines like that. It's really good. Obviously, for what you just saw, but also if you're doing perspective work, like if you just see straight lines, shift is awesome. Alright, so let's just turn off that background layer. I know you always want the pets, big boy. Yeah, you want the big pets. He's probably not going to stop. So I just need to make sure that these lines up here are all kind of connected. So this is where, like I said, I'm going to hold shift, and you can see the line. It's going to go right there like that. Okay. So you might not be able to see it, but this is him in his absolute grossness. Doesn't have the inks yet. He will get inks and he'll look good. I promise. So the next thing I do here is, hopefully this works. Still having a little bit of issues with it, but I select my wand tool. I select it from, actually I need to turn this off. Okay, so this is it without the layers on it, right? So you can see that he's cut out. He is a shape himself. Hey, big boy. So what we're going to do is, let me just see here. Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to select outside, and what this does is it's only selecting. I have it here grouped onto whatever's in that folder, so you can see it outlines just him. And the next stage is I have it here, white KO. I'm just going to press play on the action. It's going to invert the selection that I just did, shrink it down a bit so that it's inside the line art, fill it white. That's all it's going to do, and you'll see why that's good. So I have that layer, so hopefully we get good. So press play. Just going to kind of tinker around. All I have to do now is just double click that layer that it just made, name it KO knockout layer, and I just move that below the lines. Okay, I'm just going to bring my rulers back. So this is why that's important, or not necessarily important, but why it's awesome. That action just saved me time from doing all those things I just told you about, right? But if I'm just going to move the outsider above all these other layers, just so you can see why. Okay, so now, see how he's blocking out anything behind him? So what he's going to do is he's going to block out the background, he's going to block out all those things of that panel. That's the only reason. And it just speeds things up. You can also turn that layer off, like I'm definitely going to be turning that layer off, because I need to see some of that information behind it. But as you can see, if I turn it on, it just blocks out all of the sketch underneath, which is awesome. Okay, so let's turn him off. Okay, so that's one down. I'm going to hit the save button here. 1 second. Well, that was a quick save. I hope in the recording you can hear hear my computer. It gets angry when I hit the save button. After it's done, the fan just like, oh, like you can hear it breathing. It's pretty funny. Okay, so I'm going to make a new perspective ruler. So I believe the way that I was able to do it simply, normally I think you guys have seen me struggle with it. I would go here to this line tool and pick ruler, perspective ruler, and I would just start throwing lines down. I was getting in all kinds of trouble doing that. So what I've been trying to do lately, and what I mean all sorts of trouble, if I had like a 1 point perspective and I just wanted to tilt the horizon to give it a more dynamic edge to it, like an angle, oh God, guys, it was horrible. But if I could find it here, just give me 1 second here. Anyway, you'd put a perspective down this way, and then I was able to manipulate it to get it to where I want it to go. So what am I doing? Layer. Jeez. No, I want a new layer. Right? Is it a new layer? You guys can probably see it. You're screaming at the screen. Oops, sorry, buddy. Hey, Jessup. Do you know where the perspective ruler is, bud? Hey, do you know where the new layer perspective ruler is? Do you know where that's at? It's right there. That's where it's at. I can't find it, bud. Oh, this is embarrassing. Where are you, bud? It's got to be in layer. New layer, raster, vector, gradient, tone. No. Ruler. There it is. Jeez. Ruler frame. That's why. Create perspective ruler. Yes, please. So let's take a look at what we're going to need. Can't zoom out. Great. Okay, so it's obviously a 1 point perspective that I have here. I like to... I'm going to keep it simple. Let's just do 1 point perspective. I'm not going to start showing you guys stuff that has no relevance in anything here. So I'm going to move this up underneath this. And if you click up here, showing all layers. Okay, so theoretically, this should work. But let's set up our perspective here. So that's where that's at. Let's move it with this one. All right. So I gestured in a perspective. Okay, where's the... Come on, Manga Studio. It's one of these buttons. Alright, so this is when I'm moving around just to sort of like line up with everything that's in the scene. So it's looking good on that side. This side should be good. So we're going to actually see, so the perspective's a little different here than what I gestured in. We're supposed to see more of the pizza box. Not sure I want to do that, so I'm just going to move it down a bit. This will change the perspective of everything else, but, you know, what you going to do? Alright, so, friend. What I'm going to do with the friend here is I'm just going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, coach. And let's get to work. Let me just make sure it snapped. Okay, cool. Whew, all that work for nothing. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a box. And okay, so it's kind of going up. And the reason why I'm drawing this is I'm going to turn the opacity down. I just wanted to see where this new perspective is bringing this coach. Because the character's fine on it. The character's affected by perspective, obviously, but it's not as drastic as the coach. The coach can't stay like that. You'll see it. You know, you'll see it, and it's just no, bro. It's bad news bears. So let me just lower the opacity here so I can still see that. Make a new layer above it. And now I'm going to draw the couch without the perspective locked on because I want things like this. You know, I want that couch to kind of poof around this guy. I don't know what kind of couch this is that can do such amazing things. But it looks fun. So you can see the perspectives changing on this couch here. And I really need to start looking up reference for furniture. Because if you guys, I don't know if any of you guys actually look at my comic book work or not, if you're even aware of what comic books I do. But I have like this staple of furniture that always tends to, it's just my default stuff that I draw. It's most likely just because it's the furniture I have, which isn't very, like, that's not a good reason to be drawing furniture like that. If everybody's always got the same couch, maybe it's an inside joke for myself, but you know, it's kind of silly. I always do that. I don't even have that. This like flap on a couch. It's like I don't. Who has flaps on their couch? Do couches still come with flaps? I don't know. Okay, I'm actually gonna turn. Well, the cushions are kind of. I'm gonna turn it back on here just because I definitely want to have something in here that separates cushions. That way, it just helps reinforce the perspective. You know, like so when you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, you know, there's something happening there. It's not just totally flat. There's gonna be a lot of rendering I'm putting in here. It's a pretty simple couch. I do have to put some beakers and stuff over here. So let's lock on. It's a trap. And what I'm doing is I'm just gonna put obviously like just a few lines like this, and then freehand the rest of this action. Let's get this guy going this way. And same thing with the furniture is happening here. These are what I think beakers and science stuff looks like based on high school. There'd always be like this dip thing. I don't know what that was about. I think it was a temperature. And these guys are rebels, so they're going to have fluid in here too. They're just asking for it to get spilled. Okay, so we got that. Any of the lines overlap? No? Okay, so I can just merge that line down. So this should be the couch. I'm going to just rename it couch. We don't need that underlying layer anymore. And we're going to make a new layer, and this is going to be for the cat here. In the story, his name's Jack Kirby. So what I want to do, just give me 1 second. I want to find a good picture of good old Jack. I'm not good at drawing like realistic people at all. But we can try. Again, will anybody notice? I don't know. Alright, images. Alright, what's like a face we can kind of... Yeah, that looks good. We gotta do the cigar too, right? Alright, so what I'm gonna do is... I'm gonna change this back to my mapping pen, and we're gonna just start building this up using what I'm looking at as reference here. So let's figure out the size of his head. He's got a thick head. Let me just get my second monitor here. I just want to make sure, because I'm zoomed in pretty big, I don't want his head to just be like massive. That's fine. Okay. So Jack's here. He's got his forehead. Do the old Loomis. Get that big jaw. We're going to make him the older version too. Good old Jack. Alright, so what I'm going to do actually, just shrink it a little bit. It's getting a little too beefy. Oops. There we go. Okay, so we got that. Alright, let's put in a nose. Got dips. boss eyebrows. It's kind of looking mean. Alright, this hair's going back. Hey, it's just a regular old dude here. That's great. Alright, so we're going to do the blue line. Hopefully it works. Yeah, let's turn that off. I don't know why it's not. It's only affecting the layers underneath of it for some reason. Okay, so let's get the C-Tech pen out. We can just kind of wrap this up. Such a small detail, right? That doesn't really matter. Is that really the size of it? Wow, that zoomed in. Let's bring it back. Lines are thick. He's got the cool little butt chin going. I guess what we can do is kind of put the cigar over here. It's kind of like Stan Lee. If you're going to draw him, you got to give him those sunglasses all the time, or else he's just an old guy. He's got those cool grandpa cheeks. Getting there. And where are we going? I guess. I don't know. Sure. Whatever. Let's just keep this going. I want to get to the inking. If I don't like the face the next time I see it, then we can go in and change it. Alright, so let's go ahead and kill those two layers. We don't need that. And bring back the gesture. Okay, so compared to the body now, his head is, yeah, it's teeny tiny. So we're just going to transform it again. I don't know if Jack ever ate chips. I imagine he did. I don't know. Okay, so C-Tech pen. Okay, let's draw the rest of them here. So the rest of this is, you know, the easy stuff. I love it. The guy's relaxing with a cigar and chips, and he's still got his like suit and tie ready to. He's ready for business at any point here. He's a true professional. All right, so we're just gonna bring some folds in like that. All right, so suits are a little crazy. There's a lot going on. It's a fine fabric, right? So you can go in there and like just get Wrinkle Town, but I just want to keep it pretty simple here. I don't want to spend all day on Jack back here. All right, I want to have his coat, at least that's somewhat undone. And does that work? Is that? Trying to figure out how we're going to get this arm back here. You know what? I'm just gonna bring his arm back in here. Let's get this guy's fancy dress shoes. Alright, getting there. We're almost done this guy. So his leg is literally floating right now. I gotta put the the rest of his leg in there. What's his other hand doing? You know what? No, I want it over the couch there. Just make him seem more relaxed. With a cigar and a done-up suit and a bag of chips. That's this guy's Friday night. Just let him have it. He worked all week for that. Okay, I think that's the best way to do it. Just kind of have it back there like that. Okay, so we're gonna do what we did before. And again, you could keep thinking, if you keep thinking in the terms of everything's on its own layer, it's great because you can move things, but then it also brings in a problem that you can always keep moving things, so you never settle on, should this character be this and that? But what I'm saying there is I could always just make this guy his own with his white background and move him around the couch, but I'm actually just going to keep him here because it's fine. It's not the image. This isn't the most important part of this thing. But I don't want any lines obviously going through him. Okay, so we got him. Let me just put in a new layer. Oops, what's going on? Jack. And we're going to make a new layer, and you got it. We're going to put contour. You guys seen a pattern yet? And we're bringing out our pen, and we're going to do what we did with the other dude. And you don't have to draw over every line, right? Like, if not every line needs a contour line, especially when things are getting pushed into the background. It's more of a habit at this point. Like, these things, they look fine without having a contour line on them. Just kind of coming closer at it, so I just want to beef that up. Now, characters, go either way. The one thing I want to be aware of, though, because we're going to make it white, is I just don't want openings. I don't want openings in the line art here, because then he himself gets filled with white. So like his boot should be thicker than his leg so that it pops. You're almost done, Jack. Alright, so that's done. And we're just going to go back again. We just got to make that shape so that he has a spot to be cut out. I'm just going to bring it all the way out here. We're going to hold shift. Put it in there like that. Let me just turn this off. I just want to make sure. Okay, good. So, let's see if we get lucky here. So we're going to hit the wand tool. Where you at, bud? And it should just select him. It might select the other dude too. Let me just check. Okay, awesome. Now, just press play on white knockout. Come on, don't let me down. Alright, we need to change the layer name to KO. Knockout. Awesome. So you see how it's coming together. Guess I just wanted to address one quick thing that's kind of coming up as I'm seeing this. Some people might have the feeling that this is actually slower. I'll just press the save here. That this is actually slower because you could go in and just make a layer and draw the lines that you want. 100% agree. You kind of have to find what works for you. What's the workflow you like, you know? Be open to experimenting new techniques, though, because you never know what you're going to come across that would just, wow, that's amazing, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is the background. Now this I want to keep pretty cheesy here. What we're going to do is, alright, let's get that layer locked in. I'm going to fix this up. I just want to have the TV here at least. And since it's science, we got beakers everywhere. We gotta have tubes in the background. Yeah, I'll just put like a weird line just to represent whatever. Okay, let's erase all this here. I don't want it bleeding out anywhere. In Manga Studio, you get your gutters. If you're working with panels, it'll just fill those in white. I'll actually do that right now so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Just like that. I want to just do one more thing for the TV here. I want to have a lady reporting, sitting at a desk, we'll say. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to distort this picture and then put it here. Hello, my name is Sharon, and this is your news for tonight. Let's give her she has to be blonde because like almost every news reporter is blonde. I don't know why. Actually, give me a second. I want to read the script here because if there's anything happening on that TV and it's like they're talking about death and she's smiling. No, okay, so she could be talking about whatever. I'll put a little necklace. Isn't she pretty? Alright, because this is going to get kind of weird. Let's just use the pen. And her anatomy's going to be real. Well, you can already see where it's going. Whew, look at that chin. Wow. Let's get this goofy hair going. Great. So there she is. Let's put her on the nightly. Okay, so Control T. And I believe in Photoshop it's distort. I don't know. Never really done it with this one. How to correct smooth. What is this? No. Distort. Maybe we'll just go up to here. Edit, transform, distort. Can you not do it here? Excuse me, sorry about that. Free transform. Okay, that's what it is. So I don't want her head all the way up there, so what we're going to do is we're just going to line it up with the perspectives here. That's basically it. Oop. That's it. And let's get rid of all this garbage. And Z-Tech pen. The colors can go in here and add like colors and stuff. There you go. So they're watching the news, because that's what everybody does. Watch the news. Oh, I forgot these pipe things in the back. There's always something I want to get better at is like tech, you know, like these sort of doohickeys or whatever you want to call them, just like cables, but like cool looking cables and stuff. All right, we're almost freaking done this. We're almost at the home run. We just need this part here. Whew. So the outsider, we're gonna turn off your KO layer here and pizza boxes. So let's turn on our snap to perspective and let's go. So, all right, so we're gonna go there. What I'm trying to do is figure out where the corner of the table is. It's right here. So we can find the perspective. Ah, crap! I'm using a pencil tool. How'd that happen? Let's try it again. We'll go this way. Alright, and just to make this look a little fun, a little more fun, turn that off and just kind of do a little pattern. Alright, so we've got patterns on our tables. We've got flaps on our couch. I don't think two males live here. You know what I'm saying? Like, a little spicy. Or maybe the alien's really into this sort of stuff. I don't know. Alright, so that's the table. At that table. Normally I don't necessarily label all these things because you can just press a button and turn the layer on and off, right? And then you can just figure out what's there. So next we're going to do the pizza box. The pizza box, I've got it named Kyle's Pizza. That's I believe Kyle created Worlds in Peril. I'm not 100% on that. Or maybe he just one of the writers or something. But I wanted to at least put his name in here. Just for him, you know? It's more of like a little Easter egg for him. So we have the box there, and this isn't necessarily going to follow perspective. Yeah, we'll go there. We'll turn it back on. Oops. There we go. We got a pizza box, but I just want to put some more perspective on it because it's just right now a thin line. If we just do this, it'll just give it a little bit more depth. And there's some more beakers. Before we jump onto that, though, let's make a new layer, grab a text, and we're just going to type Kyle's Pizza. Kyle. I don't know if it's apostrophe S or not. Apostrophe is what? The possession of it? He's in possession of the pizza. He is the pizza. Play it safe. Kyle's Pizza. And we'll see if I get chewed up for that. Okay, so we're going to... What's the font we want? I want to use something that's not licensed for this sort of stuff. Times New Roman is kind of... Impact? Impact's probably pretty gross too. Can I spell? A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. There it is. Impact. It's bad, but it's not like that bad. Yeah, it's actually really bad. Kyle's Pizza is pretty bad there. Let's try Times New Roman, see how it looks. It's not. Okay, I want to stretch this out here. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, yeah, I think enter keeps it. Nope, guess not. Oh, what the hell? Kyle's Pizza. Alright, I don't know how we just go, okay, we're done with that. Do I just click off of it maybe? Alright. So I will right click. I'm going to duplicate this in case Kyle gets back to me and he doesn't want the name on there or something like that, so I can just click this off. It's not a big deal. Because what I'm going to do on this is I believe it's rasterize it. And what rasterizing lets us do is this right here. We're going to go edit. We're going to do the exact same thing we did with the lady there. Where was it again? Free transform. And we're just going to put it on this side. And we're going to do it again. Transform, free transform. Just holding shift here. And we're just following the perspective. Just like that. So there we got Kyle's Pizza on both sides. I can probably just get rid of one of them. It's not a big deal. I'll do these beakers after. I need to move on from this panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this up. Let me just get all this and bring it where it's supposed to be. I don't know why I put it there. Okay, so we'll make a new layer. We're just going to do contour. Now with straight shapes and stuff like this, I very rarely do I use a pen just because it gets... it can get a little hairy. You have to redraw over lines and stuff. Let's see how big that is. That's not bad. We'll see how thick that gets. So I'm going to keep my perspective locked. And the pizza definitely has to stand out over. So what I'm going to do, you guys probably already understand what we're doing here, but I'm going to make another layer on top of this, or just draw another layer to get the beakers in there. All that fun stuff. Okay, so let's just bring this smaller again. Oops. And we're just going to fill this white. We're almost done, guys. If you're sticking around still, hopefully this is helping you out. If not, I totally understand. This is how the magic happens. Wand tool, selecty. White KO, press play, and we're going to rename it to KO and move that underneath everything. Oh, whoops, table, is that the one? Okay, yeah. I just have to erase that there. Okay, so let's just go through just so you can see it all, and then we can wrap this up. So make sure all the knockout layers are on everything, which it looks like it is. Okay. So if we zoom out, whoops, and put the panel on there. And we'll turn the background off. And one last thing. Jeez, so many little things to do. Background. Let's turn the perspective layer off. And that's it. Is there an easier way to just zoom in? There we go. Okay, cool. So that's the magic, I guess, of the way I work. So again, I'm going to do this for every single panel underneath, and then I'm done with this, and I can move on to the next one to do the line work on, or the line art on that. And from there, we just throw the inks. That's the only things that's missing. And the inks are much simpler to do because it's cleaner. It kind of feels more of like a coloring book in a way. But I'm going to hit save here. And hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm just going to wrap this up. So I hope this addressed some of your guys' concerns. I know you guys are probably, those of you that were advocating, like, we're wishing more people would upload videos of like this length, just so that other new artists can see, and experienced artists, how long certain people's workflows are. You can kind of compare back and forth. When the talking's not in it, obviously it's a little quicker. You just jam music and get into a zone. But yeah, so again, thank you guys so much. Leave any comments in the comment bar below so I can check those out. And if there's any other questions or things you guys might have needed help with or anything like that, by all means, don't be shy. Ask it in there. And I appreciate all the questions and all the good stuff that you guys have been asking for. So again, until next time, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you next time. Bye.